the slumbering town. In the heart of Iowa, where the endless fields of corn whispered secrets to the wind, lay the small town of Van Meter. The year was 1903, and life moved at the gentle pace of a horse-drawn plow. Founded in the mid-19th century amid the fertile plains of Dallas County, Van Meter was a modest community of about 500 souls. Wooden homes dotted the dirt roads, their clapboard sides weathered by the harsh Midwestern winters and the relentless summer sun. A single main street ran through the center, lined with essential establishments: the general store, where farmers bartered for seed and salt, the blacksmith's forge echoing with the clang of hammer on anvil, and the modest brick bank that safeguarded the town's modest fortunes. The people of Van Meter were hardy folk, descendants of pioneers who had wrested the land from the prairie grasses. They rose with the dawn to tend their crops and livestock, attended Sunday services at the white-steepled Methodist Church, and gathered in the evenings for simple pleasures, porch-side conversations, fiddle music at barn dances, or the occasional traveling medicine show. Strangers were rare, and mysteries were confined to the tall tailies spun around potbelly stoves in winter. No one could have imagined that their quiet existence was about to be shattered by something from the realms of nightmare. Among the town's pillars was Ulysses G. Griffith, known to all as UG, a prosperous implement dealer in his mid-40s. Griffith was a man of practical mind and sturdy build, his callous hands testament 2 years of demonstrating plows and reapers to skeptical farmers. He lived in a 2-story frame house on the edge of town with his wife, Eliza, and their 3 children. Griffith was respected for his honesty. His word was as good as a signed contract. Dr. Fred Alkett, the town's physician, was another figure of authority. At 52, with a neatly trimmed beard going gray and wire-rimmed, spectacles perched on his nose, Alkett had delivered most of the babies in Van Meter and tended to the ailments of his elders. His office, attached to his home, smelled of carbolic acid and herbal remedies. Alkett was a man of science, educated at the University of Iowa, and he scoffed at superstitions, preferring the cold logic of anatomy books. Clarence Dunn, the young cashier at the Van Meter State Bank, was ambitious and vigilant. In his late 20s, with slick back hair and a perpetual air of seriousness, Dunn handled the town's finances with meticulous care. The bank was his domain, a sturdy building with iron barred windows that symbolized security in an otherwise unpredictable world. These men, along with others like Sidney Gregg, the local hardware merchant, and J.L. Platt Jr., owner of the nearby coal mine, formed the backbone of Van Meter society. They were not prone to flights of fancy, yet, in the fading days of September 1903, they would become unwilling witnesses to an enigma that would haunt their dreams for decades. The autumn air was crisp that year, carrying the scent of harvested corn and ripening apples. Leaves turned gold and crimson, drifting lazily from the maples that lined the streets. Nights grew longer, and a chill settled in after sunset, prompting families to huddle by their hearths. It was on such a night, September 29th, that the first omen appeared. The light in the darkness. U.G. Griffith had stayed late at his warehouse, tallying inventory under the flickering light of a kerosene lamp. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight as he locked the door and stepped into the cool night. The town was asleep. Not a soul stirred on the empty streets. Griffith pulled his coat tighter against the breeze and began the short walk home, his boots crunching on the gravel. Halfway there, something caught his eye, a peculiar glow dancing across the rooftops to the east. At first, he dismissed it as a lantern held by some night wanderer, perhaps a farmer checking on his barn. But the light moved erratically, leaping from one roof to another with unnatural speed. Curiosity piqued, Griffith veered off his path, his hand instinctively reaching for the revolver he carried in his coat pocket, a habit from his younger days on the frontier. As he approached the source, the light grew brighter, casting long shadows that twisted like living things. It emanated from atop the old Mather and Gregg building, a disused brick structure on the outskirts. Griffith's heart quickened. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. No answer came. Instead, the light intensified, revealing its origin. It wasn't a lantern at all. Protruding from the forehead of a colossal figure was a horn-like appendage, from which beamed a blinding ray, like a searchlight piercing the night. The creature, for it could be nothing else, stood at least 8 feet tall, its body covered in leathery skin that gleamed dully under the moonlight. Enormous bat-like wings, folded against its back, spanned wider than a man's arm span, his eyes to glowing orbs, fixed on Griffith with an intelligence that chilled him to the bone. For a moment, man and beast stared at each other. Then, A foul odor wafted toward Griffith, a stench like sulfur mixed with decay. Turning his stomach, panic surged through him. He drew his revolver and fired, the shot cracking like thunder in the quiet town. The bullet struck true, or so it seemed, but the creature didn't recoil. It merely unfurled its wings with a leathery snap and launched into the air, vanishing into the star-studded sky. Griffith stood trembling, the acrid smoke from his gun lingering in the air. Had he imagined it? No. The smell was real. The light's afterimage burned into his retinas. He hurried home, bursting through the door to wake Eliza. "There's something out there," he gasped, his face pale. "Something not of this world." Eliza, rubbing sleep from her eyes, listened with growing alarm. "Eugene, you've been working hard. It was probably just a big owl or a thief with a clever light." But Griffith knew better. He spent the rest of the night pacing, his mind racing with questions. What was it? A demon from the sermons at church, or some escaped beast from a traveling circus? Dawn brought no answers, only the mundane routine of the town awakening. Word spread quickly in Van Meter. By morning, Griffith's tale had reached the ears of his neighbors. Most chuckled it off as a tall tale, perhaps embellished by fatigue. But Dr. Alkett, ever the skeptic, decided to investigate. "If there's a rational explanation, I'll find it," he muttered to himself as he prepared for his evening rounds. Chapter 3. The Doctor's Vigil. The second night fell heavier than the first, clouds scudding across the moon like veils over a secret. Dr. Alkett had dismissed Griffith's story as hysteria, perhaps a trick of the light or an overactive imagination fueled by the recent spate of burglaries in nearby towns. But as a man of medicine, he felt compelled to observe. Arming himself with his shotgun, a relic from his Civil War days, he positioned himself on his porch, overlooking the main street. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the distant bark of a dog. Alcott's eyelids grew heavy, but he shook off the drowsiness, sipping black coffee from a tin mug. It was nearing 1 a.m. when the screech pierced the night, a high-pitched wail that set his teeth on edge, like metal scraping on bone. There, atop the roof of the town hall, perched the abomination, taller than Griffith had described, nearly 9 feet. By Alcott's estimation, it balanced on powerful hind legs, its wings half spread as if ready for flight. The horn on its head swiveled, casting a beam that swept the streets like a lighthouse warning of peril. The doctor's breath caught. This was no owl, no man in disguise. The creature's skin appeared armored, plates overlapping like those of a prehistoric reptile he'd read about in his natural history books. "By God," Alkett whispered, raising his shotgun. He fired twice, the blast echoing through the town. Buckshot peppered the air, but the beast remained unmoved. It turned its glowing eyes toward him, and for a split second, Alkett felt a wave of dread wash over him and ancient fear, as if staring into the abyss of time itself. Whispers from the mine. The fourth night brought escalation. Whispers of the Van Meter visitor, as the townsfolk had dubbed it, drew more witnesses. O.V. White, the druggist, saw it gliding over his store, its light casting eerie shadows. He didn't shoot. Fear paralyzed him, but the true horror unfolded near the abandoned coal mine on the town's outskirts. J.L. Platt Jr., the mine's owner, had closed it years ago after a collapse, but rumors persisted of strange noises from its depths. That night, Platt and a few workers investigated after hearing shrieks echoing from the shaft. What they found defied belief. Not one, but two creatures emerged from the mine's entrance. The larger one matched the descriptions, towering, winged, horned. Beside it was a smaller version, perhaps 6 feet tall, its wings less developed, like a juvenile. They moved with purpose, the larger one emitting protective grunts as they took to the air. Platt fired his pistol, joined by his men. Bullets whizzed, but the beast ignored them, vanishing into the night. They're nesting down there, Platt declared to the assembled town the next morning. "We have to end this." A posse formed dozens of armed men, led by Griffith, Alkett, Dunn, and Platt. They surrounded the mine as dusk fell on the 5th night. Torches flickered, casting dancing shadows on the rocky entrance. The air grew thick with anticipation and the ever-present sulfurous smell. As midnight approached, the shrieks resumed, louder, more frantic. Then, with a rush of wind, the two creatures burst forth. Gunfire erupted in a deafening barrage. Smoke filled the air, shouts mingling with the beast's cries. Yet, impossibly, they ascended unharmed, their lights piercing the clouds before fading away, the vanishing. Dawn revealed an empty mine, No bodies, no blood, no tracks, only the scent lingering like a curse. The visitor had gone, leaving Van Meter in stunned silence. Searches yielded nothing. The town slowly returned to normalcy, but the scars remained. Griffith sold his business and moved away, haunted by nightmares. Alcott buried himself in his work, questioning his faith in science. Dunn fortified the bank further, though guess what? He couldn't say echoes of the unknown. Over 120 years later, the Van Meter visitor endures in lore. Was it a surviving pterodactyl, awakened from the Earth's depths? A demonic entity, impervious to mortal weapons? An extraterrestrial scout, its technology deflecting bullets? Skeptics cite mass hysteria, or a large bird, perhaps a great horned owl exaggerated by fear. Eyewitness accounts, detailed and consistent from respected men, challenge dismissal. No evidence remains, no photos, no fossils. Only stories passed down, whispering of the nights when terror winged over Iowa. If you listen to more stories, so please like and subscribe my channel.